I'm gonna put my mask on because I'm in the U.S. and we're responsible for the largest contributions of new COVID people.
Thank you for being considerate. Good evening, everyone. Good morning and good afternoon. Bosnia and Herzegovina Futures Foundation truly believes in the potential of young people in our homeland. The core pillars of our organizations are high quality, non formal education, access to technology, and development of world class leadership skills. Our aim is to transform Bosnia and Herzegovina into a prosperous nation that can respond to the challenges of the 21st century. By 2030, we will grow to a community of more than 10,000 change makers who will strive for the advancement of quality of life in Bosnia and Herzegovina. One of the underlying values we will wish to instill among youth is a better understanding and appreciation for innovation and entrepreneurship. Our economy needs brilliant young minds to be creative, to be mentored and nurtured by seasoned professionals. Furthermore, we recognize that a nation full of young talents and yet without a thriving industry is not a functional one. We work closely with companies throughout the country and our incredibly talented and successful diaspora to drive human potential and economic development. Tonight's panel is the best possible example of how different individuals and organizations come together to shed light on a topic that is by many seen as essential and yet non-existential. It is our hope that through tonight's discussion that many in the audience will be inspired and that we will pave the way for a new form of investment in Bosnia and Herzegovina. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, once more. My name is Andrej Perkovic. I'm a scholar of Bosnia and Herzegovina Futures Foundation and a student of information technology at the University of Banja Luka. I have the honor of moderating tonight's panel discussion, which we proudly present together with our partners, the Global Innovation Through Science and Technology Initiative, GIST, a U.S. government program on innovation and entrepreneurship. Please forgive me if I may seem nervous, but with such an incredible panel assembled, it is difficult for a 20-year-old not to be nervous. This is just another great example of the foundation empowering young people by giving an opportunity to mix it with the world's best. Tonight, I would like to briefly introduce our esteemed panelists, Mirza Cifric, co-founder and chief executive officer of Veritas and a member of the company's board of directors. A life science entrepreneur, Mr. Cifric previously served as a chief executive officer of Advitro and head of corporate development at Forma Therapeutics. Veritas aims to deliver on the promise of the genome, being the only company on the market offering customers whole genome sequencing. Eli Velasquez, Director of Venture Development at VentureWell. Mr. Velasquez oversees the U.S. State Department Global Innovation Through Science and Technology Investors Mobilization Program, or GIST Investors. To date, he has assisted with training, supporting, and launching new angel networks in Malaysia, Indonesia, Egypt, Vietnam, Mexico, and Colombia. Dr. Mirza Tihic, postdoctoral researcher with the Department of Entrepreneurship and Emerging Enterprises at Whitman School of Management, Syracuse University, New York, USA. Dr. Tihic previously served as program director for the Falcon Center of Entrepreneurship at Syracuse University. He is also involved with several startups. Amra Omeragic, Senior Investment Officer at Finance in Motion, Bosnia and Herzegovina. Finance in Motion is one of the world's leading impact investment managers. Mrs. Omeragic manages investment and technical assistance portfolios for the European Fund for Southeast Europe. Amra has over 19 years of experience in finance, banking, microfinance in Southeast Europe, Caucasus, and Turkey. Edin Mehic, co-founder of Ant Colony, Bosnia and Herzegovina. Mr. Mehic is a serial entrepreneur, having set up his company at the age of 19 as a student. a business executive, angel investor, and advisor. He has over 14 years of experience building emerging technology startups and working with Fortune 500 companies. Selma Prodanovic, founder and CEO of 1 Million Startups, Austria. Ms. Prodanovic is also co-founder of Austrian Angel Investors Association, board member of European Business Angel Network, and a member of Global Business Angel Network. Ms. Prodanovic has a portfolio of startup investments, is lead investor at Rising Tide Europe 1, impacting the next generation of female business angels. She was an investor in the startup TV show 2 Minutes, 2 Million, and judged in over 100 investment jury sessions. Welcome. So before we start with our panel discussion, and taking into consideration that our audience might be very broad, encompassing everything from enthusiasts to experts, we will set up the panel by first defining some concepts, which we'll be discussing in detail tonight. So first of all, I will give word to Dr. Tihic and help us by defining the concept of entrepreneurship. Dr. Tihic, please.
Andre, can you please repeat the question? Sorry.
Of course. So would you be able to define the concept of entrepreneurship broadly?
Okay, sounds good. I'll be happy to. So entrepreneurship means to many people different things. For me, by the definition of the book, how we use the definition of entrepreneurship, it is a process. Because it's a process, we believe that it's taught. So we don't believe that entrepreneurs are born. We believe that entrepreneurs are made. So it's a process of creating value by combining together uniquely resources to exploit an opportunity. So it's a process, it creates value. How does it create value? It creates value by solving problems, be it economic problems or social problems. And by combining resources together that never been combined before, which means really you don't have to reinvent the wheel. You can improve the wheel to make it better, repackage it, rebrand it, improve its process, how it's done, so you can create or add more value to whatever was done before, right? By exploiting an opportunity. And opportunity usually it's defined as problem plus a solution. So whatever problems we encounter in a daily life, in the business, in the community, or anywhere else, right? The solution to that problem is an opportunity. And just want to emphasize, when I say exploit, oftentimes people look at exploitation as something negative in the definition. That's why I usually also refer to it as like pursuing an opportunity versus exploiting, because there's nothing wrong with creating value, that's social value, but also making money at it. Oftentimes I've run into people who have great social responsibility, and they believe it's wrong to make money by creating social problems or solving social problems, which is wrong, and we should go away from this mindset that it's not okay to solve a social problem and create value. And Tesla is a great example of that. Preventing environmental pollution by creating electric cars and still being able to make money at it. So that's in a nutshell how we define entrepreneurship. And entrepreneurs, you don't have to start a business to be an entrepreneur, right? You can be also an entrepreneur. You can do the same thing within a company. So that it's a mindset. So I usually love to explain that entrepreneurship is mindset, and ultimate goal is really to create value.
Thank you very much for such a detailed definition. Ms. Prodanovic, would you be able to define investing and what types of investments are there?
Thank you. First, before I start, I would just like to say, Andre, you're doing really well. So for a 20-year-old moderating a panel, good job. Continuing on what just Nisa said, and I think that is the most important part in entrepreneurship, is really this seeking to solve a problem, and that there is a market behind it, and investors invest in these opportunities. We are here today talking about business angels and the early stage investing. That means investing at the very early stage of a company. That means either that you have created an idea, but you have a prototype, or you already kind of have the first employees, you have the first market. So everything that is kind of this pre-seed, seed investment is early stage investing. And we will be talking today about that part. And here it's very important that, as Mirza said, is seeking solutions to the benefit of the world and while making money is an important part, is also that investors look at and kind of support financially, and we will be discussing further later on, not only financially support the startups to grow, to thrive, and to really bring these solutions to the market in a larger scale.
Thank you, Ms. Podanovic. Mr. Velasquez, what are angel networks?
So angel networks, well, first and foremost, thank you for having us. This is going to be a great discussion. I'm looking forward to it. Angel networks are groups of high net worth individuals that come together in a formalized way to look at some of those early stage deals that Selma was talking about, and looking for ways to actually not only contribute money, but also contribute time, resources, expertise. And so angel investors are really individuals that are committing their own personal money into these types of ventures. And so we're seeing many of these sprout all over the world. I'm also on the board of the Angel Capital Association, which is an accumulation of over 250 angel networks across North America, who are actively looking for making investments, in these kinds of companies. And so we've seen the evolution of the angel network, evolve from geography to industry to demographics over the last few decades. And so as you look to establish an angel network in your region, there's really a lot of data and a lot of research on some of the best practices on how to do that. And I know we'll dive into some of those in this discussion and others. So thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Velasquez. Mrs. Omerovic, what is angel investing and why is it important?
Okay, first of all, I'm also happy to see this topic of angel investing discussed in today's forum. So hopefully it will bring us closer to a network which is much needed in our country and for our entrepreneurial ecosystem. So what is angel investment? So like the colleague just said, the concept of angel investment is a powerful source of access to finance for high growth companies, which has emerged over the last couple of decades. An angel investor is typically an individual or a high net worth individual who provides funding or financial support for a startup, and in return, he gets a share in that startup's company. Besides giving the pure cash or the capital, the angels usually provide business experience, skills, contacts for the entrepreneur. Often they have industry knowledge, which they are willing to pass on to the entrepreneurs. So there is a difference between a financial investor, who usually provides only capital, and angel investor, who are often mentors also to the business. This is why I think there is a huge potential in our diaspora network and also among our leaders of the successful local corporates to step in and support the young and growing generation of entrepreneurs in the country. Also want to mention that contrary to the popular belief that all angel investors are high net worth individuals or the millionaires, typically they are not. So why is angel investment important? I think it's important for a number of reasons. First of all, they provide access to finance for early growth stage entrepreneurs who do not have access to finance otherwise. So, for example, in our country, and this is also same for the region, commercial banks are the only source of access to finance. And due to the risk perception of the banks are only willing to finance companies which have a track record of at least 3 years in sales. Also, when it comes to access to finance in our country or also in the region, there is no access to other forms of non-debt finance, which means apart from the banks who provide loans or debt, there are no other means that a business, be it a big business or a small business, can get equity. So we don't have equity funds, we don't have VC funds. So, but equity is quite often very much needed for a business to scale up. So having a good business angel network, I think, could provide finance for the early stage companies or the startups which need to scale. Also, apart from providing finance, like we said, business angels also provide know-how, mentoring, support, which also increases the likelihood of the survival of these companies. Finally, why is it important? I think it provides the necessary risk capital and it contributes to the economic growth and technological advances.
Thank you, Mr. Meragic. Mr. Tifrich, being a serial entrepreneur, can you help us define what is a startup? Well, it seems that Mr. Tifrich is probably experiencing some technical issues. Well, but rest assured, we have another serial entrepreneur and founder here, Mr. Mehic.
I'm sorry, were you asking? I was muted. Were you trying to get my attention?
Can you help us define what is a startup?
Sorry, was that for me?
Yeah.
Well, startups either a really good idea or a really bad idea, depending on how you look at it, and only time will tell. That's what a startup is. So, you know, I don't think there's really a definition needed. I think it's a really personal endeavor. People undertake new ventures, whatever it is, to learn how to play the piano or to you know, mow their lawn or whatever it is. I think they range in level of complexity. So I think starting something completely from scratch, from a piece of paper, from an idea, and assembling a team, which is probably the most important aspect of getting things started in the beginning, is what we sort of, you know, generally define as a so-called startup. But the range is pretty broad. You know, I mean, and time really does tell. You know, if you ask an average person today and say, how old is SpaceX or Tesla, they'd probably think, because they just heard about it 2-3 years ago, that it's a 3-year-old company. These are well over 10-year-old companies. And they're still referred to in popular press. You know, the startup launches, you know, a rocket and lands it back down, and they've been around for 15 years at that point in time. So it's a pretty broad definition. I think it's much more in the context of angel networks and early stage investing. I think it's really about an inception of an idea that someone would like to take forward and put together a team and have a business model to take to the next level. That's probably the shortest version of it.
Maybe I can add a thing to that.
Please.
Of course.
Well, I mean, especially from the perspective of business angels, what you want to see is innovation and scalability. So this is something that differentiates really a startup in comparison to a regular endeavor. I fully agree with you, Mirza. It has all of what you have, but it is about really investing into a potential scalable, exponentially scalable business, and that makes the difference. That's what we're talking about today in terms of startups and business angels. Of course, some degree of innovation has to be given as to be interesting for investment. But as business angels as such exist a longer time, they have been investing in not so scalable businesses earlier. So with that, I would agree with Mirza, but today we'll look at scalable businesses.
Yeah, on this topic of innovation, I think it's important for young folks who are thinking about starting something. You know, I think there's a lot of different things you can innovate on. It could be a new product, it could be a new service, it could be an incremental improvement on something that already exists out there. Your ideas don't have to be completely out of this world, something that no one's ever seen. They simply have to solve a problem that is either there or that is perceived or not perceived by others, but perceived by you. And you start sort of at the end and you work your way. So I don't think if I was a young person in Bosnia or Southeast Europe or wherever, thinking that I need to come up with the next great, amazing thing. If you look at, successful startups and the history of them, like Google, for example, they were not the first search engine. As a matter of fact, they were search engine number 12 or 13. It doesn't mean that there is no room for another search engine. Where there is room is to solving a particular problem that search engine solved, that other 12 successful, at that time, operational and behemoths, did not do successfully. So focus more on the problems and how to solve them versus putting yourself in a category. Yeah, we're the next SpaceX, we're the next Apple, we're a product startup, or we're a service. It doesn't matter. From an investor point of view, and an angel investor is probably your neighbor, your cousin, your friend's cousin. They love hearing a big story, tremendous potential, but they have money because they made money, and they made it probably working hard in a hard way, and so they just want to really hear what's the problem that you're solving, and if they see themselves and see that that's something that's unique and different and innovative and scalable that a lot of people are going to need, then they'll respond a lot better. So don't go telling people you're the next Apple. Just tell them, I'm just solving this thing on a mouse where there's a little button, and it's going to completely change the world. And I think that will better resonate with folks. I'll leave it at that.
Thank you both for your contributions. So problem solving and scalability would be something that would be at the core of every startup. Now, last but not least, Mr. Mekic, would you please define what a startup ecosystem of a country or a region is?
Oof. That's the hard one.
How many gray hairs do you have?
especially in Bosnia. Talking about that, I really started so many different initiatives in the startup world, mostly because of the fun. I wanted to be surrounded with, that energy, creative people. Also, we wanted to animate a little bit the scene and to see who is interested. And we organized the startup weekends. That was our first event, and the reaction was amazing. We saw it, people being really hungry for events like that, and that vibe and everything. And of course, as every entrepreneur, you become immediately too optimistic. And you then copy what you have in Silicon Valley, So you need, after startup weekend, immediately angel network, you need funds, you need whatever. And probably we try too many things, And also, I, as an entrepreneur, stuck with this NGO sector, which I cannot say some bad word because they are doing some great stuff here, But to put the entrepreneur to work with NGOs and all that scheme, grant schemes, and everything is a kind of trap, jail, wherever. And then I started working more on the reports and project proposals and everything, and less more on that event, working with the startups and entrepreneurs. So I tried everything, to build that ecosystem overnight, and that's not easy. So ecosystem is probably all the different organizations. We heard some of the names of those players in that ecosystem, and that is startups. On another side, you have investors, but on the developed market, you have so many, and that is those different NGOs organizing events, some financial institutions organize some financial schemes or products for the startups, government, and all the different things. So we have some elements of the ecosystem. I believe we are much better in events, because it's easier to attract, to engage audience, but also the sponsors. We don't have a lot of expertise in raising that kind of money. Government, they are not really open. They don't know how to innovate in that terms. Also, financial institutions, they don't know how to play on that such a small scale, because writing checks of, I don't know, 20,000 euros is already a lot of money for the startup here. And you don't have any instruments like that. You have some venture capital funds in the region, I believe, and the minimum is 500,000 euro or something like that. So we miss a lot of those elements in the ecosystem. Ecosystem can be simple like that, startups, investors, but can be complicated with all the different players, government, NGOs, everybody trying to help the entrepreneurs. And I believe that's the most important thing. Not many and not all of them trying to support. Many of them trying to raise the money, to fund their activities, to pay overheads, but not really working directly with the entrepreneurs. So what I decided, my ego have been, how to say that, beaten a little bit, trying to do all that things. So I decided to do more like boutique style. We have some sort of potential investors. We are working internally in small studios, small scale, no exposure, no media, no reports, no NGOs, no politicians, just us. And that's the biggest challenge, to be honest. Maybe we can talk later about the challenges, but also good things coming from this boutique approach that we are playing right now.
Thank you, Mr. Mihic, for making that point. I would like you to elaborate, if possible. So what is the situation with such stigma and such perception of startups in our country?
I believe we introduced that the ideas of startups really in society, So this is, I believe everybody is familiar with that. And the biggest compliment that we got, some kids came and they said, thank you for all the hard work you are doing. And I said, no, we don't have results. I'm not happy, we still don't have, what Mirza said, maybe also we are putting too much pressure on ourselves, to come up with something really big and global. And, but they said, why? I really appreciate what you are doing, For us, those words like startups, accelerators, hubs, we are just familiar with that. And I believe that that's a good starting point. Of course, that I've been really disappointed. But to be honest, now everybody's talking about the startups, Even my hairdresser, he said, I have one idea. And I'm really, that was my kind of, I wanted to do that, just to start to help people to think about the ideas, And everybody can do it. Of course, there is some negative sides in that approach too. But anyhow, I believe people talking about the startups and Selma mentioned that innovative thing. Now everything is called startups. So every guy, even hairdresser, he's starting a startup, which is not bad. But we know that startups, if you want to have investors, you have to promise some returns. So what's going right now? The problem is, I believe we as entrepreneurs, we shouldn't start those institutions. I am talking for myself, I'm not NGO guy, I'm not formal guy. That's why I'm entrepreneur, I cannot structure and organize myself in that way to run the institutions, I don't want to do that. So I'm happy that Eddie and you and foundation started to doing something. We have Selma, the most experienced one with a network. We have some other colleagues from States that can maybe come with expertise and help us doing it. To be honest, I didn't want to do it. I will join it. I will put my money in every good idea or idea that I like. I will, hang out, but I don't want to run it. So that's what's going on. I would love to have more people on board, helping doing it, because at the end, me as an entrepreneur, also as an investor, I want results. I don't want to create the hype and buzz. And I did it for 4 years. That's enough. So I want to make money. I want real startups. I want run by example or lead by example, creating and to convincing then local investors, this is the right way of developing the business, putting the money, investing money, not keeping them on the banks. Because we have a lot of rich people in Bosnia, have a lot of money, but it's not going to the right sources. We have real estate all around, people investing a lot of money, but not in the startups or in equity.
Thank you. So moving on towards more specifically angel investing and networks, I would like to ask Mr. Velasquez, what are the steps in establishing an angel investment network?
Thank you. So as an individual working within a global NGO, I completely agree with what Eden said. What happens, what we have seen is there's a lot of confusion with NGOs coming with programming and funding, and then they confuse the ecosystem, and the startups really don't know how to engage, and then it confuses the investor ecosystem as well. And one of the confusions, unfortunately, that we have seen repeatedly is that everybody wants to be like Silicon Valley. I want to do it just like they did it in San Francisco and Palo Alto, and it just doesn't work that way. And so, you know, one of the things that I advise different ecosystems that we work in is when you're going to be looking to build an angel network, do not try to be like Silicon Valley. You know, I agree with everything that Eden was saying. You have to really look at the startups that are in your region and understand where you can be of most valuable support. My personal mantra is do the startup no harm, because we have seen time and time again where we create these glamorous programs, we put the founder on stage, throw a bunch of glitter at them, make them hold a big check, and then usher them off stage and say, good luck to you. But, oh, here comes the next one. And hopefully maybe you can be the nice shiny star for us in the ecosystem. And what it really takes is it takes the local community. It takes the startups, it takes the entrepreneurs, it takes the investors to come together. So as we have advised, different economies on how to build their angel network, is to say, look, that this is going to be probably the worst job that you will probably undertake, because you have to go out and chase people for money, and you have to convince them that this is a way for them to possibly lose money, right? Hey, do you want to sign up to lose money today? Yeah, sign me up for that. That's a very hard value proposition, but you have to understand that if you bring a collective of individuals together, train them, educate them, engage them with the startup community specifically. Yes, balance it out with a little bit of programming that NGOs may be able to bring, but put a limit on how that engages with your ecosystem, so that you say, thank you very much, I'll call you when I need you, we're going to go out and give this a try. And so there's really two things when you're building that angel network is, one, you are managing people, and two, you're managing their money. And so a lot of times people lose either of those, and those investors want to generate return on that investment. So you have to look at those angel networks with the end in mind. What does this look like 10 years from now? And what are those relationships going to be looking like when I have convinced Amra to write a check that she will lose? Can we still do business 10 years from now? And if the answer is yes, then you're building a healthy ecosystem. If the answer is no, then you're not doing something right. So you really have to look at it with the end in mind and understand that you're managing not only the people, but you're managing their money. And so those are two critical questions that you should ask yourself when you're embarking on this journey. And also, and I think most importantly, do the startup no harm in that process.
Thank you for that. Interesting points. Mrs. Stodanovic, having been a member of so many angel investment networks and also being an investor yourself, what can you tell us? How do angel investment networks work, and how does angel investment work?
Well, I'll follow up on what Eli said, and as you said, you are part of ACA, right? If I understood correctly, yeah. So definitely a lot of experience there. I was very fortunate to have started the Business Angel Network in Austria, the Austrian Angel Investors Association, which was absolutely new here on the market. And then taking that experience and expertise in building the Business Angel Network throughout our work in Europe, in the European Business Angel Network, but we also just recently was on a panel in Qatar, or in South Africa. So we are facing all the same problems. And I would just like to add to this that the way we see startups and business angels is new and different from what it was before. This has started with really, the years 2000, the crisis, 2008 and 9. We see really a rise, not only because of the technology and startups growing and new opportunities, but also because business angels or investors have been looking for other opportunities where to invest. And this was a moment when we started also the Australian Angel Investors Association. There are two different types of angel networks, where you have those, as Eli just said, where it is a network of people who come together and invest together, and you're managing people and their investments. And others which are plainly just bringing people together, but the members of the network organize themselves in smaller groups and invest separately. So you have an opportunity, like for example, we spoke about that with Edin. It was really creating a network of just making sure that people come together, as Eli said, educate them, bring them the opportunity to understand, to learn, and to grow. What we have succeeded in the many cases where I was able to work is that we have created kind of a pool that we were able to explain in such a way what is to be a business angel. And I would like to go back to that for a moment. As Amra said earlier, a business angel is a person that gives all different things, which is three sorts of capital: the financial capital, which is cash; the social capital, the network, which is absolutely crucial; and the human capital, the knowledge and the experience in the field. And how do you start being a business angel? Usually is you meet entrepreneurs, they tell you a story, they tell you that what is it they're working on, and you're like, oh my God, I want to be part of that. And that's usually how you start first time. You yourself, you're an entrepreneur, you're excited about an idea, about a solution, you want to be part of that, and you start helping them, they decide it's time to bring money. So that is a different process compared to somebody who is a professional business angel, and this is what they do day in, day out. And they build a portfolio, they invest into a larger amount of startups, they invest together with other people, so to mitigate risk. So there are different stages that you have, and we talk about a journey, a business angel journey, from being what we call a virgin angel when you just start, to really be a super angel, somebody who has really a lot of experience in working on that. And the network needs to provide that, is this kind of experience exchange, knowledge exchange, and the possibility to grow also as a business angel in your own function, and the ability to be able to really meet startups. And that's something, it's really, I suppose I didn't be talking about, but it's just bringing people together and finding out what is it. I know of a business angel network in France that is exclusively investing into horses, everything that has to do with horses. So you wouldn't think that is a business angel network, but they have specifics. There are things they to look at. So it's really to look, again, as it was with startups, you look at the same way like the situation on the investor side, on the business angel side, try to find out who are the most important people, the most influential people, the more the louder ones who can attract others to come in, and then start building the network from there. We were very well supported, and that was a very crucial. We were very well supported by media, and cooperating with media and working with media to push the ecosystem is really important. So I can talk about this for another 3 days, but I think the others want to say a few things.
Yeah, thank you very much. So you mentioned, Ms. Stojanovic mentioned there are several models in which angel networks can operate. I would like to hear Ms. Omanagic.
Excuse me. So, Ms. Omanagic, what do you think would be the winning model or models for angel networks in Bosnia? What kind of an angel network do we need at this stage, in your opinion?
Okay, that's also a tough one. The winning model. What I can talk about is from my own experience in the region, because I've been doing a lot of research in the region. I think the whole region of Western Balkans is actually at the very early stage of development when it comes to business angel networks. I know for a fact that there is nothing in Bosnia, Montenegro, Albania, because these are the less developed ecosystems. There are some informal, let's say, informal networks in Kosovo, which we have tried through EFSA Entrepreneurship Academy to establish. And there is also some informal group in Albania. There are formal groups in Serbia, organized network, business angel network in Serbia, and also Crane in Croatia, which are registered. But what I know, they've done some investments in the beginning, but recently they are not quite active at all. So what are the winning models? I think it's hard to say. For Bosnia, I think it would be great if we could get a group of people who are, let's say, enthusiasts about the issue, who would like to get together. It could be an informal group within which they could cooperate, network, invest, and mentor the startups. I think that would be the winning option.
Thank you, Ms. Amaragic. Now, Mr. Cifric, having been a serial entrepreneur in the States and having had, I guess, experience with angel investing, what can you tell us, how much did it influence your companies and your experience as a founder?
Well, everything matters, right? I think the big question you have to ask yourself, how much money do you really need? You have to be very careful and think through that aspect of it. Otherwise, angels might not be the right path. Some businesses are just going to simply require a lot more capital, and there's no point in starting with a couple of $100,000 only to spend that money to learn that you really need 10 million. Then you really, what do we say, over your skis. It's no turning back. You're going to tumble over and deal with the yard sale consequences. So, you really got to think through those steps. I think is one of the first things. I personally raised mostly venture capital money, over 100 million in venture capital. And I have raised angel money for this, the venture that I'm currently CEO of. I wish I didn't, because we raised $2 million from angels, and now my cap table has like 50 people on there. And what, are you not going to pick up the phone call from your friend who gave you $25,000, who wants to know how are things going now that you have a company of 150 people operating in 30 countries, and they'd like to see the financials? And it's okay, like first 2 weeks, you can sit down and tell them, here's where I'm spending the money. Now you're running a very large business, and everybody, has investor rights and so forth. But it's an interpersonal, and reputational thing to maintain, a good relationship with your angel investors. On the positive side, it could work out really well. Your angel investors, or any investors that make money with you, are very likely to invest back with you again, especially if they're playing with what we call house money. So, if somebody gives you 25 grand and you turn that into $500,000 for them, they're more than happy to give you the next 100,000 for your next venture with much less diligence and much less complexity and questions, because it's house money, right? So you really have to ask yourself and think through the business and the model and how you're going to answer those types of questions to your friends and family, which is really what angels are. And then the angel networks themselves. They just comprise of a pooled number of people. We have some successful examples in Boston area, and we have some not so successful examples. The successful ways of taking this forward and benefiting is that you can, if you get people who are industry insiders, they can actually bring more than money to, can be really, really valuable. And then, of course, if you get a couple of angels who are prominent, others will follow, just simply, well, that's smart money. That guy knows what he's doing. So if Elon Musk is an angel investor in your company, they'll be lining up the door, or some version between Elon Musk and many others. But I think you really, when you're out there for the first time, especially, and you just need money, you think, I just take it from anybody who's willing to give it to me, right? Because I just need the capital to get things moving. And I know it's very hard to think, well, no, I'm going to say no to somebody's money, but you really need to think through that to next 2-3 steps, what that means. So I would say, don't take money from people that don't add value, that don't understand your business, because they will never understand your business. And if things are going well, they'll be fine. If things are not going well, they won't understand why they're not going well. And how do you answer those types of questions? How do you maintain a positive relationship with those people? So those are some of the, I think the downsides of raising money. The problem in the ecosystem that we have, and I have to just, my hat's off to people like Edin and others that have been just relentlessly, creating this environment and keeping it alive and at the forefront in that part of the world. But the reality is you don't have much of venture capital access to start with, so you have to raise money from angels. So we can speak with a US perspective or, even to some degree European perspective, but often you don't have a choice in Bosnia. So then you really have to think through your business model, right? Is there a way to be profitable on 250,000? And what are the strengths and weaknesses of the rest of the ecosystem that exists around you, right? That give you a competitive advantage over someone who's raised $100 million. So don't get into the life sciences, I'll tell you right away. A couple of $100,000 will go out the door before you're done. Even, you've been open for a week. You need millions of dollars there's a regular healthcare, same thing. Oh, we're going to make this awesome app. It's going to tell you, how many steps you're taking or your blood pressure or these things. And great. Okay, a consultant to just help you write up the submission to the FDA is going to cost you $100,000 in 6 months' time. So there are particular types of business. I really think we need to introspectively look and think about the strengths and the weaknesses of the region, and then place that in the marketplace that exists. So I have several ventures in Bosnia, and I have one rule for almost all of them, which we're about to break, which is don't do business in Bosnia. Okay.
May I add something to that?
Sure.
Of course.
I agree with you, Mirza, in terms of saying definitely you need to take care of who do you take the money from, and you want to take smart money, definitely. But I totally disagree with your statement about business angels, because it has to do with the stages where you're coming. So friends and family, and we call it 3 F's, the friends, fool, and family, are the first that invest. They are totally different. I have nothing to do with being invested with professional angels. And then when you're already at stage Series A and above Series B, then you're coming to venture capital. But venture capitals do not invest into a very early stage, and you need to have that. So saying that do not go to business angels is just saying just keep a stage of your investment, which if you succeed is great, but it's not how usually the startups work. And having a cap table with 50 business angels is not the mistake of the business angels, but it's not being correctly advised to have a cap table where you have one lead investor and the others representing the others, having really a syndicate investment and looking at these things differently. So considering that we're talking about here today about business angels, how to become business angels and how business angels can help startups, I don't think this is very helpful to really say do not go to business angels, because that's totally, it's your personal perspective. And I fully consider and see that, but it's not what you usually do. What a business angel is smart money, and somebody who knows exactly what you were talking about in your industry, who to talk to, the network that you bring, and also everything that goes with that, and then in addition gives you cash. So these are people that are really crucial and important in the vast majority of any investment that comes to VCs goes through business angels at the very beginning.
2-minute rebuttal.
Of course.
Sorry?
This one makes for a good panel as we'll put, different points of view. So don't get me wrong. Yeah, I'm not saying to anyone don't go to any angels. I'm just saying think it through. I'm just saying think through your business model and the type of angels, because when you need money, you're going to go to wherever the money is, and that's not always the smartest move. I was referring to particular. I'm not saying I will never go back to angel. I'm an angel in probably over a dozen companies personally, and so I'm quite familiar with the process. I'm not saying don't go and get angel money. I'm saying in my particular way, running a life science company, it raised $15 million in venture. It did not make sense to raise, a couple of $1 million to start with. But think about it. I mean, a couple of $1 million sounds like a lot of money in Southeastern Europe. Edin could probably incubate 12 startups with that. And it didn't last us more than a year. Again, it's more about the context of what you're building and what you're going to need. If you're doing an IT, thing, it's one thing. If you're doing something that's consumer driven, you're going to flush $2 million on Facebook advertising in the first 6 months, or you just won't take off. And so you just have to, it's just as important, you think that I have an idea and I'm just going to go and get some money and then I'm going to figure this out. That's not good enough. Yeah, I'm sure Eli's got an opinion. I just want to finish my thought about what I said about investing, doing business in Bosnia, because I don't want it to be taken out of context. So we have several ventures in Bosnia that I invested in, and one of the rules is that it's a very basic rule. Like, where is your market? Bosnia is a small country. There's not a lot of market there. So don't do business in Bosnia. There's nothing wrong with Bosnia. There's nothing negative about it. It's simply forcing people to think beyond and above selling something in Bosnia, because it's a small market, small number of people. We encourage people to think about participating in the US market. So each one of these ventures that I mentioned are actively participating and doing very well on the US market, where there's money, or global markets, be it Indonesia or wherever it is. And that's the part I think we should, I always encourage entrepreneurs in Bosnia to think more broadly and not to be tepid or be afraid or feel like I don't have the experience. It's hard enough for me to figure out what's going on here in this country, let alone how do I place my product in Indonesia or whatever it is. But if Eli is an investor, an angel investor, or one of his friends, he'll open the doors in the right markets. And Indonesia's got 120 million people. That's a market, So anyways, that perspective of, if you're raising money in Southeastern Europe, it's not about opening up a hair salon in Southeastern Europe, okay? It's about how to cut hair for 500 million people, or whatever, virtual hair, whatever it may be. So I just encourage the young people to think and not be afraid of participating in a global market and be very ambitious.
Thank you, Sifrich. I would just like to use the opportunity to remind the audience that they can use the comment sections to pose questions. We got several of those already coming in. So I will read one of those since it's interesting. So how critical are angel investment networks in countries like Bosnia and Herzegovina and other emerging economies, where the only capital available is a few greedy banks? So maybe Mr. Velasquez, what is your opinion on this?
So I want to go back a little bit to what Amra said earlier about who are angel investors. And this is actually an issue that we're trying to tackle in the US as well, where we're trying to demystify who these individuals are. And that it is not your typical, millionaire, generational wealth, trust fund type of individual that is only affiliated with Ivy League schools in the US. We're trying to demystify who those individuals are. Now, in the US, you do have to meet certain accreditation requirements, financial requirements to get into this kind of space. But I would say beyond that, what we're trying to do is build a network of individuals that enjoy working with companies, enjoy working with founders, have an opportunity to give back. So my number one rule whenever you're looking to build an angel network is look for people that are nice. Look for people that you like and you trust, and then yes, have the financial capacity to put some money at risk in this particular space, right? But because you're going to be involved with them for a very, very long time. And so if you are able to build a community of those kind of individuals, then that opens up the doors for new access to capital. And you start finding like-minded individuals. They're willing to work together. to give back and explore ways to also generate returns. And so this is why you see a huge emergence in the US of more women investors, more investors of color, right? Different industries are starting to emerge because you're finding all these different pockets of like-minded individuals that can then be positioned for these startups to engage and enabling them to be transparent about how they're found as well, right? And so, the angel investors for me are absolutely critical in that continuum of building out your startup ecosystem, because where else are you going to find nice, friendly money, right? That wants to not only give you money, but also bring you support. One of my mentor investors says, when you get my money, you get me. Okay. And so if you are signing up an investor for that, make sure you like them, make sure you trust them, right? And so I think it's going to be absolutely critical that we build more angel investors in Bosnia and Malaysia and Egypt and all over in Detroit, right? We're doing this all over the place because they're absolutely critical to the startup. And in this day and age, I'm going to argue that entrepreneurship is an absolute must, right? As companies evolve business models, as people have to adapt their careers, entrepreneurship is absolutely going to flourish, and angels are going to be absolutely critical to helping those startups flourish as well.
Thank you, Mr. Velasquez. So mentioning, you raised quite a good point about finding the common language between the founders and investors and having common interests. So, Mrs. Omeragic, what do you think? Where would we be able to find a team that would make this goal achievable? Where can we find a team that can go through with this, establishing a network in the context of Balkans?
I think there is quite a big gap in Bosnia, but also in Western Balkans between what startups say and what investors say. So usually from startups you will hear, oh, there are no investors, nobody wants to invest in my company, nowhere to find access to finance. On the other side, you have investors who are saying there is no pipeline, there is no investable startups. So there is this really big gap that needs to be filled in, and that it needs to come closer. How to fill that gap? I think that there is a lot of things that we could do. Firstly, I think it's our responsibility to build role models, to have successful entrepreneurial stories and role models being published, so people will firstly want to become entrepreneurs, because one of our biggest problems in entrepreneurship is the young people not wanting to become entrepreneurs. They would rather work in public companies. So building role models, I think that would be great. On the other hand, how to merge this gap, I think also there needs to be a lot of education. So when it comes to investor side, I think investors need to be more educated what it needs to be a business angel, what it takes to be a business angel, how much can you invest. And I think in our region, especially in Bosnia, it's usually not so much money that startups need. We've done a bit of a research, so usually it's only between 20,000 to 50,000 euros that there is a gap, and that it's really that much needed that you would scale up and become either bankable or become more investable or attractive for a VC. So it's not like in USA where they're talking about big millions of big tickets. So here it's a lot smaller size. So education is important. If you are a business angel, I think you need to understand, you don't have to be, of course, a millionaire, but you need to have a certain amount of money which you're willing to give up. So it's a very high risk capital. So you need to say, I'm putting this aside, whether it's 10,000 euros, and I forget about it. In our language, we say halal. So either you halal or forget about it. If you're not forgetting about it, then you have a problem. Then you'll be pushing your startup to become successful, to make profit. And this is not a good model, I would say.
Thank you. So I would like to ask Dr. Tihic, in your opinion, what is the mindset a person or an individual needs to develop to establish to be a good founder and to be able to communicate with investors in your experience?
Are you talking about entrepreneurs as a founder or?
Yes, entrepreneurs as founders.
Well, I think going back to what both Mirza, by the way, great name, Mirza, and Selma said about the startups, right? The angel investors come in different shapes and sizes. So I think you have to, as an entrepreneur, you have to be aware of what you're looking for and understand also in terms of when you're looking for, then what are you giving to the and angel investors, right? Mirza got in troubles maybe with his friends because I don't know. Again, I don't know what happened, but I've been in those situations where I was not clear about what the expectations were. So suddenly, instead of treating them, I treated them as a silent investors. They suddenly thought they owned the company, had to run it. So it's very important that you have to be realistic. That's the first of all, the first key. Be realistic. Surround yourself with great people. I usually tell everybody, surround yourself with the BAIL team. BAIL, B-A-I-L, meaning banker, accountant, lawyer, and insurance person, and have them really advise you on, have a plan. Doesn't matter if it's a 5-page plan or 20-page plan. Really be open-minded to listen to the critique, and it's constructive feedback, not critique. Constructive feedback, because oftentimes entrepreneurs are so emotional about the ideas that if somebody tells them, like, okay, go test your product and come back to me and see what 100 people are saying, they don't want to do it because they believe that they have the best things to slice bread. So, be open-minded, do the work, put the work effort, and then listen to those people that you're surrounding yourself. And I think also when it comes to angel investors, oftentimes we perceive angel investors as somebody who just gives money. I think Salma mentioned previously, and Amra as well, that angel investors should be a mentor. So when you're looking for somebody, don't look only just for money, but look for somebody with expertise. Same thing with your BAIL team, right? Don't go, if you're in real estate, don't ask a lawyer who deals with divorces to be your lawyer. Ask somebody who has real estate experiences and knows how to structure deals and so on. So really the mindset, again, is being open-minded, be willing to learn, and be nimble, right? Be nimble in terms of, because whatever idea come up, I'm sure after 3 to 4 months, it's going to change as you do your market research. And as they say, every plan fails once it hits the ground running. So be open-minded, be nimble, be flexible, and be willing to learn.
All right, 1 minute rebuttal, please.
Of course. Thank you, Dr.
First,
Tijic.
I wasn't speaking about anything specific. I said that if I had to go back in time, I would not have taken angel money. That doesn't mean it didn't work out very well, and there's any trouble. Just to be very clear about that. And the reason is very different, and I'm gonna keep hitting this topic, for the benefit of those who are just starting out and who see the only path being angel money. I don't know how sophisticated and complicated. It has nothing to do with quality, just with the amount of complexity. Investing in Southeastern Europe startups, it is. But in the US, it's quite well evolved, and you can go to National Venture Capital Association or Y Combinator. You'll get all your documentation. You'll see what happens, cap tables. But just think it through. Okay, if you take $500,000 from the angel investors, they're going to get common shares. You can give them whatever you want, but they're going to get common shares. As soon as you do your venture round investors are not going to want any of your angels on your board, okay, unless they're Elon Musk. They're going to have preferred shares with liquidation preference, at least 1x, maybe up to 4x, or whatever they're investing, okay? Don't tell your friends you own 3% of the company, because and not until you run a waterfall with an exit value and account for preferences, dividends, and all these things, that if you sell a company for $100 million, that they're going to get $3 million. It's not the case. These are the types of things you need to think through. As it just depends on how ambitious your plan and your goals are. I'm not talking about you starting a lifestyle business here. You want to hire 5 guys in IT in Sarajevo and start a business and build some, outsource IT. I mean, I think we in Bosnia and that part of the world need to go above and beyond that. That's a play from 10, 12 years ago. We need to think products and services placed in the markets that have the capital and the money and so forth. So the Croatian company that went public, that's the path you should be thinking through. So ask them, how did their angel investors do when they went public on the US market? Because they were doing back office work for Uber. Super successful story, one we should hold up as an example for the region to follow through. But, you know, if they were worth $1 billion, how much did the angels make? And then, you know, the complexity of once you have venture investors and boards and so forth, you know, how much confidential information can you really share, you know, but you know, so we shouldn't be just thinking the angels are around, their only source of investment forever. I'm talking and thinking here far more ambitiously and far, you know, more successfully down the line, and taking that into the account in the beginning, because you want to set up for success. So that's my only comment in terms of, and it can work out very well and works out very well. We got angel networks in Silicon Valley that you know, prop up massive, entrepreneurial endeavors. You know, SpaceX's of the world started, you know, with angel investors and so forth. But think about how much money you will really need and what the source of that money is, because once the angel money dries up, it's hard to go back to the well.
Ooh. Question, Mirza. How much money have you invested in? You said you have investments in Bosnia. And you would consider yourself more as a business angel. You're not a venture capital. You're not investing other people's money, but you're investing your own personal money, as far as I understand. What kind of size tickets do you invest? So, I mean, you know, like looking like the same things, like you just said, what you just said from a perspective of a Bosnian startup, looking, you know, listening to you. Would they go to you, or would they basically understand what you just said, that going to you is not a good thing? They should go immediately to the seed that would give them a 5 million. So I'm sorry, I'm confused there. You know, you have one role in Bosnia and you're talking about something different that is happening in the US, which I totally understand that is happening there. But even there, we have a bunch of very successful business angel networks that are needed. But I'm just confused in how do you see that?
I'll tell you, I'll help you out. I'll just get to the core. The core of my frustration, which is also the core of my motivation and the opportunity I see in the region, is that we're just, you know, we're creating a lot of Me Too opportunities as entrepreneurs, right? So I went to Bosnia. Edin was very kind to introduce us to several people, maybe 3 or 4 years ago. Having already made a half a dozen investments in Bosnia, I said, okay, why don't we professionalize this? Let's have a process and so forth. So you know, I hired a guy and with the network, and we went and saw about a dozen or 2 dozen startups in Bosnia, and we didn't find anything investable. So long story short. Because what I was looking for is thinking beyond the local markets and thinking about participation. So my investments ever since, prior to that and after that, have been in creation of businesses, and overall there are several $1 million over that period of time. But we've basically created new companies and backed people that created spin-offs and assembled the teams. But we'd always with very clear set of sort of guidelines, and that whatever it is that we're doing, it has to be in a marketplace that is thriving, that it exists, et cetera, et cetera. So yeah, I'm open to any and every opportunity to invest back in the team, and I think there are people who are trying to create networks, whether it's professionally managed or otherwise. And now I've had the exposure to see what the local talent pool is, and it's phenomenal. It is absolutely phenomenal. We started a biotech. We have a biotech company that's run out of Bosnia. It's a team of about 12 or 14 people that participates in the U.S. market, that looks and feels and it's an American company. Okay, and the team is absolutely phenomenal, and they're only participating in the U.S. market. They're selling their product. They continue to evolve their product. It's super cutting edge. And to me, that was the number one reason to do it. It gives the young people the opportunity to not have to leave. Like I have to get on a bus and get out of Bosnia and come here and do all the things and leave the food, the culture, the friendship, the family behind. And now they're running a biotech company that looks and feels like a Cambridge, Massachusetts-based company out of Bosnia entirely, completely on their own. that's a success story. There are many like that. So when I invest, when I look at investing, my time, money, effort, whatever it is, this panel, whatever it may be, I'm always thinking, okay, what are the types of things that are going to take us up to that next level? And, thinking beyond the local markets, thinking about, participation and so forth. And then I've looked at some of the local venture funds and some of the activity that happens there. A lot of our companies, mine is a long thing to say, our businesses have, try to apply for grants, a European central bank, this and that. Oh my God, it's so bad. It is just terrible. I didn't have the time. I wanted to pull one up. There was recently, we have a laboratory that we run in Bosnia that has got, cutting edge equipment, easily worth over $1 million and so forth. And we try to get COVID testing going at the beginning of the crisis in Bosnia in that lab. And I don't even want to go into the Bosnian bureaucracy aspects of it. But one of the aspects of it, there was all of a sudden this emergency relief fund for, COVID-related stuff in Southeastern Europe for some European Union something. So someone pointed it out. So I said, hey, go ahead, guys, apply. Let's see. I will find this later. I'll send it to Eddie. He can distribute it to the rest. And, there were grant proposals and so forth. And eventually the grants were made. And you should just look at the grants, what they funded. Come on. It's nothing that is going to move the needle, help the local ecosystem, help solve any kind of problems. So I'm worried, and I'm frustrated that we have one of the most powerful competitive advantages. We have a talent pool that is untouchable in most of the world. And but I'm encouraged. I'm encouraged to see all of you guys here participating. That's why I took the time to be with you guys here, although we're in the middle of a pandemic here and doing COVID testing right behind these doors in the US, because I think it's a super important conversation, not just have on this panel, but to continue on and follow through with some action after.
Thank you, Mr. Sifrich. So I would like us to move to the questions from the audience. We've got a couple of those. One interesting question is, what could be potential incentives for attracting angel investors? So, Mr. Mehic, Ms. Omeragic, I would like to hear your opinions on this.
Okay, maybe if I can, if I may comment a little bit on what Selma and Mirza mentioned here. I agree with Mirza. You should consider why you are raising money. A lot of people coming to raise the money for the cost of operations. You don't see growth. You are not inspired. You are not engaged as an investor. And I believe the startups should be more. I would say that what we are missing. That I'm also amazed with the talent pool. To be honest, we have one company working directly. It's again some sort of outsourcing, working for Uber, Airbnb, some stuff. I bring that company to the Bosnia. They employ 700 people, and of course now they said more. Just in a few months. Because they are amazed. They haven't seen that country on the map. They just untapped a little bit of talent pool, and they said, now we don't have any limits for the number of people that we can employ. And I believe, I think that we miss the perspective. We are not ambitious because our markets, they don't have so many needs. And so we are not, we are not hurt with some problems, So I believe in one model that I'm testing right now. We have some Bosnians in Silicon Valley right now. We are the rest of the team. There are some mathematicians doing some calculations and algorithms. The rest of even application of that knowledge is developed here. So I believe, that we should consider also the different models, not just startups. We came up with the idea raising money, but we have some people all around the world. Maybe we can do some joint venture, not really outsourcing. I would also love to have a new level, because I'm sure that 10% at minimum in all those very successful, I'm really appreciate all the job that those outsourcing companies doing it here, increasing the standards of life and everything. But 10% of those engineers really, feel bad in those companies. And we should maybe together with those companies. I don't know. We should try different models. I agree with Ali. Don't copy Silicon Valley. Let's try to do some hybrid models. Maybe Mirza can, from time to time, send us some ideas, you know, or areas that we can attack and do some research or something like that. You know, I would love to see. Also, maybe Selma to be more active with the startups, struggling with expanding to maybe West Europe markets, which is the first one close to us, something like that. So maybe, or just to have those people, you know, from time to time, maybe 2 times per year, you know, just to discuss or share the ideas or different projects, that would be really helpful. And also, I believe those kind of mentorship and telling, that's the good idea, but that market doesn't exist, or this is not the right way to do, or what I call smart cuts, just to give us direction, or you should dream for more, or something like that, are really valuable comments. And also what Selma said on that side, you know, for us, even those money from angel investors is very good, because that's not the money. For me, you know, the investors came for my first investment that I received from London to see me. And that was enough. I didn't discuss, I didn't negotiate, you know, because my parents hated me, you know, I didn't have a girlfriend or anybody there, you know, I've been really alone. And then some people coming and giving me, you know, some kind of support, whatever, you know, and what Ellie said, love, and what Amra mentioned, you know, they just gave me the money. They didn't care. They even did after that, you know, maybe when they saw how desperate I was. No, I don't believe in that, but how enthusiastic I was about the business. They put the money. I returned maybe 30 times. Maybe that's not huge return in terms of Silicon Valley, wherever, Amazon or something, but I return a lot of money to them. And that's the thing. I believe people are lonely. Entrepreneurs in Bosnia and Herzegovina are lonely. So what I'm running is not really angel investment or startup studio or something. It's more like shelter, where you can come and I will tell you whatever. I will give you money to survive. I'm behind your back for next 2 or 3 years. Quit the job. You know, I will be with you. You know, you will not be hungry. Something like that. And on another side, I'm trying different models, more professional, to have somebody from abroad, because I believe that the strength, the power of this country is out of the country for the moment. And not because those people are more talented, but because those people have a right perspective. We are, I also agree, too modest. You know, we don't, because of those political situations, whatever perception, what you had the benefit when you leave, you thought maybe I'm from Yugoslavia, wherever. That was the, you know, now we think we are the worst part of Europe or something like that. And that's stopping us to be ambitious to be. And I agree, and I told you with the customers like Amazon and Airbnb, Uber, employing in Bosnia people there, they are amazed with the talent. So I think, you know, we should test and we should go for the new models. And why not have somebody pitching the ideas or selling the services? There we developing the startups in Bosnia, or having some startup from US attacking the Europe, something like that. I believe we should be open for different models, not to be locked for this Silicon Valley, wherever model, you know, of raising money, working, because our needs are really different.
Thank you, Mr. Mekic.
You had a question, but maybe.
Ms. Pradanovic, would you, excuse me, Ms. Omanagic, would you like to reply? In your opinion, what could incentivize more angel investment in our country?
Yeah, I think Edin has answered part of that question. I think he has mentioned some hybrid models of investing. I think that would be really great. I also believe in some blended kind of finance, because I didn't get the chance to introduce myself at the beginning, but coming from EFSE fund, which has a technical assistance facility, which is willing to support building the entrepreneurial ecosystems in the region. We are working in the region of Western Balkans. We are supporting business support organizations. In Bosnia, we are supporting Mosaic, for example, over the last 3 to 4 years. We have had the FC Entrepreneurship Tournament. We are currently supporting Foundation 787, which is running a 2-batch tech boost program. So what it is, we will have a second batch coming in October, where we will have 10 tech startups going through the pre-acceleration program, which is supported by Startup Wise Guys, which is one of the biggest EU accelerators, B2B accelerators. So these startups will be going through acceleration program. They will be getting a good training. They will have access to international mentors over the next period between October and December. And of course, they will be looking for investors. They are at the early stage of business development, but they are looking for investors. So what we are willing to do, we are really willing to support access to finance to those businesses. We are really open to showcase these businesses to potential investors. And I think it would be really great to match make them as well. So yes, we're open and willing to also support business angel networks, which to be established, hopefully also in Bosnia. It doesn't matter in which kind of a form, in which kind of a way. We are also talking with a network in Macedonia, North Macedonia, which we are willing to support in the next period. We are looking into different co-investment models, blended kind of finance, which could match business angel investments with potentially some grants. And I think this will be also a great incentive to boost up the investment. So any kind of ideas coming from you guys would be quite welcome. And yeah, I want to finish on a positive note and boost the willingness to support.
If I can add also,
Of course.
answer the question, as somebody asked me what would attract me to join an angel investor club in Bosnia, angel investor network. I think it would be a network group. We have a board, and people on the board are Mirza Cifric, Selma Prodanovic, Amra Omeragic, Adam Čustovic, and Eddie Mehic, and Eli Alaskas, and it's run by people like Andrej Perkovic. So I think we have the opportunity now. That's my naive thinking, okay? How would I approach it? So I think you have a good group here. You guys are doing amazing work at the Beha Future Foundations, and really instead of relying on the government, other NGOs, let's as Gandhi says, let's be the change we want to see in the world. That would attract me, so I would join that network immediately.
Thank you very much, Dr. Tikic. Your recognition means a lot to us. So moving on to questions from the audience, another one asks, would any of you be willing to, ready to take the lead and establish an angel network?
As I said, we are here to support. We are not here to drive any activities. We're willing to support initiatives that are coming from the ground, from the people on the ground. So willing to support them.
Thank you. Dr. Tikic?
I think this goes back to what I just said. I'll be happy to support as well, and I'm sure everybody here is supporting it. We are here, right? That's why we're here, because we want to see a change and positive move in this direction. So tell us what you guys need and how we can help you, the youth. I believe in the youth, so.
Thank you.
I totally agree with what you said, Mirza, and kind of having this idea. Some discussions we had, Edin, earlier. I can only add from the international experience that we had building business angel networks or business angel ecosystems across the world. It is always important to have local angels because you, as whoever of us here, if you're going to invest in Bosnia or in any of the Western Balkan countries. You or in any other country, usually you want to have somebody who's local, who knows the founders, who has some kind of as a lead investor, and then the others come in, because you simply are too far away to be able to really understand what's going on the market right now. If you haven't been for years, if you don't know exactly what's going on, So having this combination of local angels and international, as you said, Edwin, earlier, this kind of hybrid models or whatever, but that is really crucial. And we've seen that for international investors to come in, no matter at what stage, and it is really important to have local people that are ready to take the lead and people you can trust. And you share the same values, as you said, Ayla. It's not about liking and nice, but it's about sharing the same values. Whatever those values are, they can be very different, but it is really about sharing those values and building the trust within the network. And as you said, it's having a couple of lead people that are going to take it, and then probably it could happen. With meeting at least twice a year, as Edin said, and with the support of Amra, maybe we could get a few things happening. So.
Thank you. Anyone else wants to add anything to this?
Okay.
Go ahead, Edwin.
Oh, no, please, Ali.
Oh, thank you.
Let's move to Mr. Mehic.
I'll just share the story, the anecdote of the work that was done in Egypt. They had one angel group that started there in 2012, Cairo Angels. And then in 2016, Alexandria Angels came online, and that's Alex Angels. And we reached out to them and they said, look, we only have a website. But they had a local champion, Tariq Al-Qadi, super great guy. And he is just passionate about this work. And he got involved with bringing together a very small group of individuals, right, that could afford to do this, investing in local deals. Were they Me Too deals? Yeah, maybe. But you know what? They were they were solving a problem locally. And so they began investing in Alexandria. And as they got more momentum, they saw an opportunity to link up with Cairo Angels, which was a little bit bigger, right? And then they stood up a third angel network, Nile Angels. And then Alexandria Angels said, look, why don't we start to work together across different countries and across different angel networks across the Mediterranean. So then we helped them form Mediterranean Angels. And their aim is to really link up 22 angel groups in these different geographies, maybe layer a fund on top of that helps really mobilize capital, train, and educate. And then now they have just recently, Alexandria Angels announced that they've raised a $6 million US dollar fund to help seed their innovation ecosystem. So this is all the work that started, I'm going to go back probably a decade ago when they first had the idea. And then they started formalizing the initiative, brought some of these folks online, invested locally, and now they're investing internationally. So all that to say is that, it is possible. It's extremely possible to do this. People are doing this every day. You just take a small group of people. What is small? 10 to 12 people, right? And bring them together and say, let's mobilize and let's start doing this. And you have some folks already on the ground. And then you have access to great resources outside the region that you can test some of your ideas with and bring value. So I would say I'm a huge proponent. I say, go for it, do it, and if you fail, it's okay. You can try again, right? Until you find the model that's going to work best for you.
Thank you.
I'm going to tell you, this is a very American way of saying things, but there's a saying, and it's also quite helpful when it comes to fundraising, and it's and it's American, but it's like when you're having breakfast in the morning, and there's the eggs and the bacon. I don't eat bacon, but there's eggs in the bacon. They say, the chicken is definitely interested, but the pig is committed, right? So, starting an angel network is a job. It's a venture in itself, So I'll volunteer and say, if you can get 3 other people in Bosnia who are successful entrepreneurs who run businesses and who have the same mindset that we could get, that we need to take the economy and the most valuable resource that we have to the next level, meaning not starting another outsourcing company, but placing products on foreign markets. I think we have all the ingredients we need. We have the access to the capital, we have the networks, we have the resources. It doesn't need to be too broad, too complicated. we can get it started. We can do a couple of ventures. We need a couple of good stories and successes, and others will follow. And two other things in closing remark, having outsourcing companies in Bosnia to, is just phenomenal, necessary, and we should be grateful because they're bringing in the level of quality training that is necessary to produce software, whatever it may be, on the world's markets and follow the best procedures, practices, etc. They're helping us train. That is phenomenal. The other point is, that's great. We gotta move to the next level. Okay, because we will waste our most valuable natural resource. We are in a massive competition for those resources internally now, and within Europe and the migration extremely so. And we need to take that next big leap, next big step, which is to create products and services, not just sell bodies and minds. And so that's incumbent on us and on this generation to do, I think. And so, yeah, count me in, find 3 more, and I'm in.
That's great. We already have some unofficial commitments during the panel. Mr. Mekic, you wanted to add something?
I'm encouraged maybe to try again, but not with the same. What Selma said, about this virgin angel investor. I'm experienced one, failed few times, establishing different formal whatsoever networks. I believe we should, as Mirza said, this is venture as any other, we should start very lean, maybe have a page, have commitment that we will check for few times per year. Those ideas, somebody should be in charge just to maybe filter the ideas or different kind of things. Then we can sit together, discuss a little bit of that ideas. And that, for me, should be better than any other official angel network. Maybe Selma knows more, but I believe, we should start clean.
I totally agree with you. And I know that you have given so much effort in building the Business Angel Network, and it was supported. And that, it has to be a private initiative, definitely. But what I would say, if you want to build a successful Business Angel Network, it's like building any network. You want to bring a couple of people together, give them opportunity to meet on a regular base. With that regular base, enable building trust. Because, if we meet just once a year like this, there's no trust. I don't know how you work. I don't know how you think. So what you want to have is, you don't care about the startups at the very beginning. You care about the network. And you have the people coming together, organize regular meetings once a month, have the more experienced ones share their experiences, talk about what they have them the opportunity to build trust, talk about their mistakes, their failures, their fears, their successes, and then build from there, kind of grow the network from there. The network needs to be diverse. It has to be of benefit to everybody who is going to meet, because you do not go meeting just because you're going to invest. You want to meet people who are interesting. You want to meet people who bring you even more than that, just as meeting. So it's like successful people that are at that stage to be investing. They already have most of the things they need. So what is it what you bring to them? And I think it's about this diverse network of people that are coming from, like also now today can be this online combinations, so that it's more interesting. And I think it's really concentrating on building the Business Angel Network as a venture itself, and then start looking at startups when you have, a substantial something. Because if you start, if you have, 5 people and you start looking at startups, and then these 5 people meet every now and then, there is no commitment, after 18 months, everybody's doing whatever they did. So to build a commitment, you need to have this regular engagement. So it's a network, and you have to have a customer engagement program with your startup, work with your customers so that they feel, indulged to be part of that, so that they become really part of the logic. And really see it as a startup, as a business. I agree with that.
Okay, one more comment. I would agree with Ellie, the people you like. I believe that's important, because like I said on the beginning, it's more like fun. Let's see each other regularly. Let's have a few topics to discuss. But not only, pressure on Angel Network, especially no donors, like pushing too much pressure. to sign the papers, and everybody's thinking, that we are stealing some money, and they are covering just 5%. So no donors, as Mirza said, entrepreneurs themselves, I believe, should lead. I would love that. I will not that I'm part of it, not a leader, but let's have 3-4 of us. Already we have few people already.
I mean, that's how I started in Austria. I mean, there was not a business angel network in that sense, and I with my co-founder, we started a network. We organized the first event. There were 130 people that came to the first event, and everybody was saying, "Who cares? Nobody's going to come." Every business angel know each other, so it's not something that is fun. But we succeeded in bringing together such a group of people that they said they didn't know 70% of the people in the room. So we brought something really to that network. And from there, we started with a membership, classical membership based. So with the membership, we were able to pay the operations. And from there, we started moving. But it's really organizing a cool event where people come in and then start committing. And some of them will become investors, and some of them not. But they will bring some other things, maybe. Yeah. I mean, we were very selective in terms of the quality, but at the beginning, maybe you want to have a couple of people that are in corporates. Maybe we'll invest a small amount of money, but we'll bring contacts and infrastructure to the starters that are coming, things like that. So, but I think it's really starting a classical network without overthinking, as you said. Start simple, lean, and then go from there.
Thank you, Ms. Brdanovic. Mr. Cifric, you wish to make a point, or?
I made a lot of points. I'm going to take up any more time. I just want to thank you guys. I want to thank Eddie, Edine, and Mirza and Amra and Selma and for taking the time. It's a super important conversation. We just got to have a lot more. I think the young people need to know that there's great shining examples of success, that it's doable, it's manageable, it's tough work, but sign up for it. It's well worth it. And I think our goal here is to create, not just opportunity, but wealth and generational wealth in Bosnia, and so that we don't continuously depend on whether it's diaspora or whatever it is. Right? The whole idea of creating these things, in Bosnia, and is to have success, to create capital that can be reinvested. Venture capital is a revolving type of investment vehicle. It's incredibly valuable, important for the economies like in the U.S. We don't have it, and so I think it's incumbent on us to get it started. So I look forward to more conversations, and I would just encourage the young people to know that there's more opportunity out there than you think, and we're all willing to help. Good luck.
Thank you for the kind words. So moving on with the questions from the audience. What does the panel think about the position and environment created by B&H government, and what it could be done or offered to investors to incentivize them to invest in BH companies?
Maybe I should comment. To stop discussion right away. When I've been in London for the first time, that was organized by Angel Network London. And then everybody came in, and then I told that I'm in Bosnia, because that was the same story, Everybody's complaining about the government scheme, the startups complaining that they cannot have enough money over there, because they are looking to raise 100. Only the figures are different, but the problems are the same. So the government, sucks all over the world. They don't understand how the systems work, startup schemes, whatever. There is some good examples, but the good thing is with those initiatives is that governments are not the leaders of those transformational processes or whatsoever. They are good as feeders. They should help. They should be on board, but they cannot lead that. So the good thing is, we don't depend. I don't want to depend on the government at all. That's why I believe we made success, because, as Mirza said, don't work, don't do the business in the Bosnia. We said don't do the business with the government. That's why we succeeded, because we completely depended on the market. So no deals, no tenders, no. We didn't, not because we didn't trust, but we didn't want to waste our energy on the tenders, on that processes that's so complicated and so on. So, you know, government, and the interesting thing is that if, I don't know, Eli or Selma, because I know that you are, and Amra, working on that side, I believe the government should feed. They will put their money in. So if you come up with some structure, you know, the problem with the government in our country is knowledge. You know, they don't know how they can put the money in those schemes or something like that. So I had some meetings with the people from the government. They are not against it. You know, they, of course, they have their own interest to make few pictures with you, but they are not against willing to put the money in those schemes. But, you know, we don't depend, fortunately, on the government for those issues.
Thank you, Mr. Mekic. Anybody else would like to add something to this?
I mean, you definitely don't want to depend on the government on that, because it's a private, personal, entrepreneurial, you know, venture that you're starting there. And the governments do come at a certain point when the whole story becomes interesting enough, then they do come. And the point is, it's not so only just how knowledgeable the governments are, and it's, as you said, the same thing all across the world, but it's more about not being able, because that's not their role, to go in that kind of a risk business. And it's like, you know, a bank cannot invest in that kind, you know, in this field at the early stage, the same way the government cannot be giving, except for the grants and, you know, the loans that they have, but they cannot be the leading part in establishing private initiatives. I don't believe in that, and I don't think that's their role, and I don't think that that's what they should do. And it's not considering the knowledge and their willingness to do so. But at a certain point, when the ecosystem is big enough and it becomes interesting, then they do come in and invest and support, and that's important.
Thank you, Ms. Pradanovic. Moving on.
Well, it's like two things. We didn't give them an answer really. They asked what they can do. We told them what they, you know, cannot do. So I have one they can do. Well, there's two things. One is stay out of the way, which is hard for them to do. Okay, it's hard for us here. So whatever that means is from, you know, go down the list, but it's not, you know, helping. It's, you know, not affecting in a negative way. So stay out of the way, you know, let the people do it. One thing. The other thing is, you know, invest. I mean, you know, the government is in Southeastern Europe, you know, the largest employer still is the government, and there's a lot of state-owned enterprises that create all kinds of capital, which is, you know, invested in a variety of different things. Private equity and subsidiary, you know, a segment of private equity is a small percentage investment over the overall investments that happen in the U.S., but, you know, across the entire market, but pretty significant in dollars, meaning that who's a limited partner investor in a venture capital fund, right? Where does their money come from? It's endowments, it's businesses, it's, you know, it's foundations, et cetera. And so if the government owns the telecommunications business and creates a certain amount of profits, the best way to make that, you know, recycle that money, some small segment of it, is to put it in a venture fund, which is going to go and create 20 new businesses, because the governments need tax revenue to continue funding and growing. So there is a way for them to participate in an indirect way in terms of the investment. Given the state-owned enterprises that exist in the region, or they're just going to have no taxes to collect in 10 years because, you know, won't have an economy. And then they got to think longer term in that sense.
Thank you, Mirza. So moving on, what industry focus could the business angel groups take in, be it Bosnia and Herzegovina, industrial or software or IoT, etc.? Maybe Amra, yeah.
Yeah, I think it's good if a business angel network has focus, if the entrepreneurs actually have experience from the industry. I think it helps a lot because it makes the investments less risky. When it comes to industries, I think IT, science is maybe the most interesting for us at the moment. although I wouldn't be exclusive on it of any other industries.
Thank you, Amra.
Business Angels Network should focus on what they know. So, I mean, if you are, if you come from a technology, or if you come, I don't know, from advertising, you don't want to be investing into health. So business angel groups are formed by your expertise, by your network, but what your smart money brings in, and this is what you want to be investing in. The other thing is, do you have enough opportunities in the market to go into that? And of course, you can learn certain things, and if you co-invest with others, then you can grow with that. But the primary thing is you should be investing in what you know and understand, and where you can mostly contribute.
Thank you, Selma. Another question: how can we find a model where real talent can be attracted? Real talent, for example, in IT is out there locked in day-to-day jobs to survive.
Maybe I can now use the opportunity to promote one of the initiatives that I'm investing right now. And that is kind of IT school, but more entrepreneurial one. So we will try to train the different, IT skills. But at the end, we are not giving certificates. We will give you a business, or you should come up with a business, And it's we believe that's our, experience on the market. We should start early on. Of course, it's a generational project to start at young age, but also to give the opportunity for people, that what we call finish the wrong university or something, that they stuck on the job. So this is kind of what we are trying to do. And of course, the idea and core of that idea is to diversify that group, so we are also attracting, all different kind of people. Also, we will have, it will be, of course, you will be forced to pay, and because we just wanted people to be committed, but also we will give opportunities for the disadvantaged youth or different kind of groups, to participate in that kind of school, I would say.
Thank you, Eddie. Would anyone like to add something?
Yeah, what's the name of the school?
We are working on it. So in next
Okay.
one or 2 months, everything will be,
Okay.
we are starting campaign. But it's a really good, cool group of people, that is, again, what I love with that kind of investing, connecting people, that those businesses existing already. One, it's a classical, IT business. The another one, those people are very experienced in education, and they have very good system. They are for the years in some kind of, they got the franchise, lot of knowledge. So we are trying to combine those two. And of course, some of us would love to see that early on, to invest, to guide a little bit with the investment, with the startups, to be results of those schools. And but Selma, you will know first the name of the. I will check with that, to be honest, the name of the school.
Thank you, Erin. We have one more question, and then we can move to the closing remarks. But before I pose this one, I would like to read the comment netted for Edin. I like Edin, who put focus away from finance aspect of business angel support for a moment, and non-financial support should be explored much more here. Startups need sales, contacts, motive, etc. So thank you, Edin, for that comment. And the last question is, how startups can approach you to pitch their businesses?
That's a good one. Smart. Whoever did that, that's a very smart.
To leave that comment. So we have this Ant Colony company is the platform now for the startups. It's our way of how to filter the ideas, how to democratize the whole process, so everybody can come in, pitch. So you have the antcolony.io, and you can apply with any kind of idea, and we will take in consideration. What we would love to do is that people have to write something. So that was really funny when one of my partners, the guy came in and we said, okay, do you have something on paper? And he said, oh, this is formal. I thought you are informal guys, so I can pitch. And we said, no, that's not the problem. We wanted to force you that we are not the first one as you to hear the idea. Because usually people would come just with the idea in their head. They will never put on the paper to put a little bit of the structure. So I encourage people to use some kind of, there is a lot of templates called pitch deck, and they should answer the questions that we raise here, like what problems you are solving, what you are looking for, and things like that. We are not too strict, but put something on the paper and you will be amazed what will happen when you put the words on the paper. That idea will probably grow. So this is the only thing that I'm looking for, some sort of presentation or pitch deck. And I encourage people really to send. There is no stupid idea. That's the good thing when they said, that one of the investors said for Mark Zuckerberg, I'm glad that this guy succeed, because after him, there is no stupid ideas, really. Have the idea that you will share all your personal photo data and everything with the rest of the world for free. And it's really a stupid idea, but it works somehow. So, I encourage people. And also what I agree, you should check a little bit what's going on the world market. And I'm sure that people can come up with ideas, that are not just strict to our local market. It's better that are connected somehow for your age group, and so many great ideas coming now when you are targeting, your age group. It's better than targeting some territory or something, or copy the business that already exists. But that would be my suggestions before they are approaching me.
Thank you, Edin. Selma, and then Eli.
Well, there are two things. When I look at startups, there are two things I would like to see. One is startups that are creating an impact. That means that they are working towards the Sustainable Development Goals. If you don't know what that is, SDGs, check it out. And I would like, I really want to encourage and empower entrepreneurs to work towards solutions that are needed in our world. And the second thing, what I really like to see is the passionate entrepreneur. I like when people solve issues that they really personally care about, or they care about because somebody in their surrounding for some reason, but like you really feel this and you want to solve this, and it's not something you're running after because you think it's a great idea, you're going to make some money, and then 2 years later you're gone. I really want to empower entrepreneurs that are working, towards solving a problem. You wake up every morning, something bothers you so terribly that one day you decide, I'm going to do something about it. That's kind of an entrepreneur I'm looking for. And you can contact us through the 1millionstartup.com website. You register there if you work for one of the SDGs, and then from there we'll be supporting you. You might then, I might come up with you might be able to pitch your pitch deck, as Edin said, and it has to be a good one. And then we'll see whether there. But our first part is not about the financial part. It's more about the mentoring, the support, the network, and empowerment for you to do what you think is really important to do.
Thank you, Selma. Eli, and then moving on to Mirza.
Sure. I'll direct my answer to the investors that are listening. And it'll be important, to follow that philosophy of do the startup no harm. So be very clear on what it is that you're expecting that startup to provide you. Be clear on your investment thesis. Be clear on the process by which they can engage you. Be clear on the time that you are going to be spending with startups, so that it makes it an efficient process on both sides, and you don't waste their time and you don't waste your time in this exchange. So, for those investors out there, be transparent, be open. Don't hide the ball from the startups. Be very clear and upfront. If it's no, it's no, and they'll know why it's no. And if it's yes, then they know the process for the next step. So be very clear on what you are looking for as far as the engagement with the startup.
Thank you, Eli. Mirza?
TH or
Yeah, which one?
Or you go first.
You go first, Mirza.
So the question is where to contact, how to pitch to us, and so I think you go to Edine first, and Salma, you get put through the ringer, and then okay, here's my email, and you can contact me there. I put it in the chat.
Dr. Tikic?
Feel free to reach out to me on LinkedIn. You can find me Mirza Tihic, but I agree with Mirza Cifric. Reach out to Salma Edin first. Another advice I'll give you a lot also that I give other startups or entrepreneurs is that just because an angel investor says no to you, don't stop that contact. What I recommend is send a monthly email with updates in terms of what your startup has achieved, and email it to all the contact, everybody you've pitched in the past. Because just because I said no 6 months ago, maybe 6 months later, I'll be looking for new opportunity, and out of mind, out of sight. So if you're not on my mind, if I don't see that you're doing, if you don't show me that you are diligent, that you have the tenacity, and then you actually, improving and moving forward and advancing with the startup, that's a good sign. So this is just advice to the entrepreneurs out there as you pitch. Don't forget to update everybody you've been pitching to in the past as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Mirza. Amra, would you like to add anything or?
No, I think I agree with what's been said, and I'm not an investor myself, so it wasn't the question for me, I guess.
Thank you. So
may I just add some more thing? Forget us here. If you're a startup founder and you are in the field that we do not cover, find the best possible investor first in your locally, but also internationally, and go after them. They may be not the prominent investors, but if they are the best fit, you need to spend time researching and doing the due diligence on your investors, no matter the level where they are. And you really need to search for somebody who can help you with their knowledge, network, and money. So go out and look for the best in the world. And if they are in the Silicon Valley or Indonesia or Venezuela, whatever, just go for them.
thank you, Salma. So now I would like to give you the opportunity to give your closing remarks and give us a positive spin on all this. And please keep it short. Give your message to the future founders and future investors. Let's start with Dr. Tikic.
First of all, I want to thank you guys, BH Future Foundations, for organizing this amazing event. Thank all the panelists. I hope to meet you all also in person one day. So if you ever in Syracuse, New York, or America, hit me up. I'll do the same if I'm in your region. For all entrepreneurs, keep dreaming, keep entrepreneuring. If I can do anything, please reach out. Not only financially, of course, but connecting with other people. I think the great thing here that you have the panel is that not only access to funding, but also access to human capital and social capital. And that's the key oftentimes. That's the key, actually, social capital and then human capital. So feel free to reach out. Don't give up. And I look forward to the BH Future Foundations of hopefully starting one or two of these networks, and I'll be happy to be part of that. Thank you again, and keep entrepreneuring.
Thank you. Let's move on to Mirza and then Amra.
About half hour ago, I thought I already gave my final remarks. I won't take any more time. This is great. Thank you for organizing. And just keep the fight, Edine and him and everybody else. Without you guys, we wouldn't be here. So keep bringing us together, and we'll make it work one step at a time. And just don't forget, we have the most valuable resource there is. We need to just use it wisely. So and anything I can do, don't be shy. Reach out.
Thank you.
Yes, I also want to thank you for putting us all together. I think it was a great session. The final remark I want to say, yes, it's a process. A lot of times we get discouraged, we get disappointed by lack of support, by the weak environment, by the politics. by the brain drain, people migrating the country, all these many things that are going on at the same time. But we need to be positive. It takes time. What we do now, I think, it will show maybe in 5-10 years. It's a long process, but keep doing it.
Thank you, Amra. Let's move on to Eli, Selma, and then Edin.
So this has been a great panel, and thank you for having me. Whether it's Med Angels in Alexandria, or Angels in Science in Malaysia, or the 3 new angel groups that got founded this year in the US that I helped work with, they all started with conversations just like this, with people engaging, with people debating, with people trying to figure out the best model that's going to work for them, and they're still going to figure it out. So you're on the right track, you're on the right path, you're having the discussions, you're being open, you're being transparent. So keep doing it, right? And you're gonna break some things along the way, but the idea is that you build more than you break. So at the end of the day, remember that you're all pushing in the same direction. You're trying to build your country, you're trying to build your region, you're trying to build your startups. And as long as you keep that at the forefront of your mind, you can't fail. So I am rooting for your success. Please reach out to us. Please reach out to me, find me, and I'm be more than happy to help in any way that I can.
Thank you, Eli.
Thanks from my side for the organization and everybody who was listening or will be listening in the future. There is one single message that I have for you is you are enough. No matter if you are a startup or founder or an angel, but the incredible, innovative and creative spirit from the region, we are known for that. And you have everything that you need. You are absolutely enough. And let's have a special call with this now to young female entrepreneurs and female investors to join in, to believe in yourself, and to create a better world.
Thank you, Selma. Edin?
I will never give up. Not because I love to do this stuff, I love to be encouraged by entrepreneurial crazy minds, room full of energy, I would pay for that to be surrounded. So, this is, I'm working, I'm making money to, to reinvest more, or to be, to create a better thing, I'm always, a little bit, pushing myself, it's never enough, I would say, or maybe I'm just aware we can do more altogether. And on another side, it's also political agenda, because I believe if we help to create 100 rich, independent Bosnians, we will change the country anyhow, but we can change it on the better way, faster, better. So, this is also, about empowerment the people and to create the wealth and money. And I think all the other things will change more quickly.